There is a case to be made. It's not my strongest one, I'll be honest with you, for Duke power forward Cam Boozer to go first in this draft. Going through all the mock drafts, all the final mock drafts over the past weekends that have been landed, the top two picks have varied between A.J. Dybantsa of BYU, small forward, 6 feet 9 inches tall, 217 pounds, and Darryn Peterson, the point guard from Kansas, who many believe is actually the best player in the class at 6'5", 200 pounds. Both are freshmen. Much like Cam Boozer, power forward, but it's 6'8", 250 pounds. Again, I'm trying to make a case for Cam to go number 1 to Washington if the Wizards don't trade out. The issue is with the Wizards is that they have more than enough forwards to go around. And at 6'8", for Cam Boozer, he does come with gifts. He comes with a fairly polished game. He comes with a big body, and he does play really downhill. The question is he able to defend at that size and at that height? And he could in college because of just how college players are built. Now, could he do the same thing with the Washington Wizards? Perhaps, but they would ask him to shoulder an awful lot of load, much like he would in other places. I'll be honest with you. There's other spots where he's going to have to kind of tote the mail and carry the weight for him to go number 1. And I would love to see another Duke player go back-to-back number 1. I know that stings to the ears of some, and Caleb Wilson is not top 3 right now. Every mock draft I've seen, Caleb Wilson of Carolina is going to Chicago, and that's actually where he wants to go. So great news there. Happy Caleb. Happy Chicago. That's where it's going to be. So for Cam Boozer to go number 1, it's less and less likely because no one has him placed there. I'm trying to put him there. But the more I talk about it, the more I try to talk myself into it, it may not happen. It's more likely because the stars align a little bit more when it comes to family lineage that he goes number 2. And that number 2 would be the Utah Jazz. And the Utah Jazz, if you might remember, is where Cam's father, Carlos, played much of his professional career and happens to still be employed by the Utah Jazz. And also, the Jazz CEO happens to be Danny Ainge, and Danny Ainge is kind of one of those guys that doesn't necessarily pick the guys that you think he might go for. Having met Danny Ainge one whole time in my entire life, at a college basketball game while he was watching the Celtics play in the playoffs and then also scouting a team. Or a late season game, I should say. Cam Boozer at number 1 may not happen. I'm trying to make that case, but it may not happen.
I don't believe it will happen. I think Washington probably needs that kind of electric scoring guy like A.J. Dybantsa or at least someone to be a lead guard like Darryn Peterson. Now, granted, they did make that move for Trae Young last season.
And he's going to sign long-term, apparently.
Yes, he's going to, quote-unquote, free agency, but it's kind of assumed that that's just to renegotiate a new deal with longer term with Washington. So I think they're probably leaning Dybantsa in Washington for the first pick. I agree with you that I think Cameron Boozer is probably, it's either him or Dybantsa is the best prospect to me. And that's no disrespect to Darryn Peterson, but he just didn't put quite as much on tape this season in college, and some of that was due to injury, so I don't want to hold that, again, completely against him. But Cameron Boozer just has that kind of aggression to him when it comes to getting to the boards and getting to the rim. That's something that you can't really teach. Like, if you think back to the best rebounders of all time, you think back to Dennis Rodman. He wasn't the biggest guy on the floor, but he was just aggressive and able to get to the rim with that kind of violence.
He was bouncy.
Yes, and he was bouncy. And, despite not being the biggest player on the floor, is known all time as one of the great rebounders and one of the great pieces that helped create, potentially the greatest dynasty of all time in the NBA, whether you want to say it's them or the kind of late 2010s Warriors teams that were led by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green in them. But Cameron Boozer very much kind of fits into that mold. And the reason I kind of like him more as a prospect over Caleb Wilson is obviously Wilson has the insane athleticism and the crazy hops, and that's very exciting and all. He's got the great dunk package and everything, but a lot of the analysis when it comes for Caleb Wilson is he's got all these physical tools. If he just adds that jump shot, like, it's going to be complete. Well, that's a pretty big if, especially in the modern NBA, where in terms of Cameron Boozer, like, he can already shoot the rock pretty well. He shot 39% from three in a year of college. He was around 80% from the free throw line, all that while averaging 22 and 10 on a team that was the number one overall seed, and then really only got knocked out because of an unfortunate turnover by his brother in the Elite Eight in D.C. that led to them losing on the buzzer beater to UConn. So I think if not for that turnover, they very, very well may have won the national championship this past season, because they had already beaten Michigan in the regular season, who went on to beat UConn in the national championship. So I'm really high on Cameron Boozer. There's been some rumors about the Hornets reaching out to
Packaging
Memphis.
their 2 picks?
Yep, reaching out to Memphis about potentially moving up to 3. If they were able to do that and bring Cameron Boozer in, he would be such a perfect fit and fit such a need for the Hornets to flush out that front court. Obviously, we've seen a ton of Duke covering college basketball in this area, and he would slot in so well and beef up that rebounding, beef up the defensive floor, which was raised a good bit in this past season for the Hornets, because not only were they sparking a lot of teams out in terms of offense, but the defensive acumen was definitely improved in that second half of the season. But man, he'd be a great piece to add to that rotation. That's probably a bit more of a pipe dream than reality.
Yeah, throw in another one. Throw in another pick. Throw in your 2 1s this year and your 1 next year.
No, they can take the 2 1s in Miles Bridges. That's fine by me. Just get somebody who plays some defense.
Yeah, that would be Cam Boozer. He can do that, but it would be tested certainly at the professional level, considering where he's at. So NBA draft coming up tomorrow night. We'll have full coverage here on 99.9 The Fan. I believe the first round starts at 8 o'clock and the pre-draft starts at 7:30. But we'll be chatting it up all day, see if the Hornets make some moves, and certainly those top 4 picks of the Big Four. Washington at 1, Utah at 2, Memphis at 3, and Chicago at 4. Remains to be seen how the top 3 shake out. Number 4 right now feels like everyone's settling on Wilson going to the Bulls.
Or whoever's left out of that group.
Yeah, whoever's left. And that's not a bad – that's not a bad place to be. We'll take whatever.
I will say, in terms of your argument for Boozer to go 1, John Hollinger of The Athletic does have Cameron Boozer on top of his big board.
There you go.
I don't know if that's necessarily like a mock draft 1 versus just like
talent,
prospect he's bigger on.
Sure.
But you've got at least a couple people in the media who are agreeing with your sentiment that he is the top prospect in terms of this draft.
We're trying. We're trying, right?
I'm Max Goren with 3 things you need to know right now from 99.9 The Fan. UNC baseball defeated Oklahoma 6-2 in Game 2 of the College World Series Finals in Omaha yesterday, setting up a winner-take-all Game 3 for the national title. Coverage of tonight's do-or-die championship game can be heard right here on 99.9 The Fan. First pitch is scheduled for 7 p.m. The Carolina Hurricanes brought an estimated 180,000 people to downtown Raleigh for their Stanley Cup celebration on Saturday and took the opportunity to announce some business. GM Eric Tulsky signed Nick Deslauriers to a 2-year contract extension with an average annual value of $875,000. Deslauriers was acquired at the trade deadline this past March. A big trade broke in the NHL's Eastern Conference yesterday, with the Florida Panthers acquiring Brady Tkachuk from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for 3 first-round draft picks and 1 second-round pick. The trade unites Brady with his brother Matthew in Florida, where the Olympic gold medalists will play together in the NHL for the first time. For all the latest news on your favorite teams, download the 99.9 The Fan app or visit 999thefan.com.
Today, the Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee will meet to vote on the class of 2026. The announcement expected at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It is a very, very long list. Here's what they're allowed to do. The Hall of Fame allows for 4 male and 2 female inductees. They cannot have played hockey in the last 3 seasons. And there's also a builders category as well, also a referee or linesperson category. We will talk about Rod Brind'Amour here in a second. but here are the first-year candidates, some big ones right away. Top first-year candidates out of their Hall of Fame resume. Of the three, the big three that the NHL has identified as their top candidates, Patrice Bergeron, 20-year career with the Boston Bruins, Stanley Cup winner, won a bunch of stuff.
Lock, virtual lock.
Right. So he's a first-year guy. Second one, Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel, 17 years in the NHL, Ironman streak as well, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, Olympian too. The third name on this list, Max, Eric Staal. Won the Stanley Cup with the Canes, played for the Canes for the majority of the season, all-time leader for the Carolina Hurricanes, number's been retired, 6-time All-Star, also was captain for Canada at the Beijing Olympics. There were no active NHLers at that time.
Eric Staal was a great player. I had this conversation with a friend the other day who maybe is not as plugged into
Is he great or very good?
Great player, but I don't think he's first ballot Hall of Fame. To me, thinking back to Eric Stahl's career, I honestly didn't really envision him as a Hall of Famer. But when you lay out the numbers and the kind of career accomplishments there, I think that there's an argument to be made. I don't think he'll be getting in today, first ballot. But especially if you're comparing Eric Stahl's resume to Rod Brind'Amour's resume, where Eric Stahl never won any individual awards. Rod Brind'Amour is a Selke winner who captained his team to the Stanley Cup, and Eric Stahl was on that team, was the leading scorer in the regular season, so I don't want to discount that. But I think it would be a bit of a miscarriage if Eric Stahl got in before Rod Brind'Amour. Not to say that he couldn't or shouldn't get in, but I think Rod Brind'Amour would be more deserving of getting in ahead of Eric Stahl.
Eric Stahl's last game action came with the Florida Panthers in 2023. So this is where 2022-2023 season. So this is where he is a first-time eligible player for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Remember, the meeting is today. The vote will take place today. The announcement will come this afternoon, reportedly at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, here are the others who have been previously been eligible for induction but can't get in. This is a big list, by the way. And when you start thinking about making the argument for Rod Brind'Amour to get in to the Hall of Fame, he's got to jump a lot of names that a lot of you will be very familiar with. There's a lot of goaltenders, which is interesting on this list. You've got Tim Thomas.
No.
You've got Tuukka Rask.
No.
Carey Price. Stanley
maybe.
Cup. He's won the Vezina and the Hart in the same season. Vezina and the Hart. You also have a lot of goal scorers. Cujo's on this list too. Curtis Joseph is on this list as well.
I think he's the most deserving of those goaltenders. Him or Carey Price, in terms of those goaltenders, most deserving to get in.
So the ones that would be a little, if you took goalie out of that conversation, now you're talking about guys like Patrick Marleau. You've got a Jason Spezza. You've got Keith Tkachuk. You also have Henrik Zetterberg. Now, let's get down to the Canes. You have a Justin Williams that's available, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, a Conn Smythe winner as well. Mr. Game 7. Teams went 8-1 in Game 7s and had a very long career. Justin Williams is part of that conversation, along with Claude Lemieux, who recently passed away, who could garner some sympathy vote. There's no doubt about that. That is that has to be said out there. But he was a Conn Smythe winner, 4-time Stanley Cup champion,
9th all-time in playoff goals as well.
Long career, long career. Came back and played late in his career. Ryan Getzlaf is on this list as well.
Again,
Vincent Damphousse.
Getzlaf.
I'm just naming
very
names
good player. Very good player, not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Now, when it comes to Rod Brind'Amour, who is on this list.
Sorry, not first ballot. He was already eligible.
Number retired, 1,184 points, Selke winner, captain, Stanley Cup champion. We know this, played in the NHL.
2-time Selke winner.
Right, 2-time Selke winner. You have back-to-back years, as a matter of fact. And then here's the note that comes along with Rod Brind'Amour, and this is the asterisk, or the but, or the or, depending on how you think. Stanley Cup winning coach of the Hurricanes, but coach of the Hurricanes as a winner. The Hockey Hall of Fame separates playing days and coaching days currently. They do not combine them. Coaches are honored in a builders category. Now, look at Rod Brind'Amour's coaching career. He's still an active coach. That's the one thing. He's still an active coach building that case. As a player, does he have a case to get into the Hall of Fame against many of those other names that we just kind of ran through? Certainly does. Certainly does. But if we're taking one off the table with Patrice Bergeron, and we will place two women in, now there are 3 available spots. I'm thinking Lemieux will get one of those other spots. So now we're down to 2. And does it come down to any of these other first-timers? Eric Stahl? Does it come down to a Phil Kessel, if possible? A Derek Brassard, who's also notable?
No.
So is that window now more open than ever for Rod Brind'Amour to get in as a player, knowing most likely that the day he calls it as a coach, he would be placed in the builders category hands down based on the postseason appearances, just the winning attitude that he has, and the fact that he does have a Stanley Cup within his first 8 seasons as a coach, and lots of records have been set for Rod Brind'Amour.
Obviously, his coaching acumen is incredible since taking over as the Hurricanes head coach, but the whole time he's been deserving of getting in as a player and has been passed over year after year. And it's not that the players that have gotten in kind of in his place have not deserved it, but I mean, when you factor in the longevity of Rod Brind'Amour, captaining a team to the Stanley Cup, 2 individual awards back-to-back with the Selke, over 1,000 points, I just don't understand at this point. And he would get in. I think if he'd get in, it's more of the coaching thing would help as kind of like a PR boost. And again, not to discredit Claude Lemieux, but I think that would be a large reason why he would get inducted this year of all years, as he's already been eligible to get in. I think the PR boost of winning the Cup as a coach would help him, and I think it should help him, even though it's coaching does not necessarily factor into getting inducted as a player. But when you factor in those players, again, Bergeron, I think practically a first ballot lock. Claude Lemieux, given the timing, I would not be surprised if he got inducted. If you're only taking 2 from those list of players that we mentioned, I think Rod Brind'Amour should be towards the top of that list, based purely off of his playing accomplishments. Not even just because he's also been one of the best coaches in the NHL since he took over 8 years ago.
The list gets tougher as the years move on. It just does. That the ladder becomes a little bit harder to climb each year.
It's a lot of great players. Patrick Marleau's the all-time leader in games played.
Yeah. If there is going to be a year where the momentum and the trade winds are blowing on his side, this would be the season for Rod Brind'Amour to make it to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Just do it. Just do it, Hockey Hall of Fame. Just do it.
Yeah. Well, you have that'll be an interesting room to be in for sure today. So the vote, they will go in and meet today. They will vote, and then the report is at 3 o'clock, we are told, at sometime around 3 o'clock, the announcements will start coming out about who will make this year's class for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Fingers crossed that the man who got stripped by his players in a locker room and on stage will make the Hockey Hall of Fame.